Hello guys, welcome. Today is December 11th. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. So guys, another solid green day to start the week. It's a huge week. There's CPI, there's FOMC, there's PPI, there's bunch of earnings, Costco, Adobe and Oracle. So we kicked off the week really solid, and let's recap what were our setups, how did we make money, what did we do. So as you guys see here, this was my watch list this morning, and before I show you my watch list, let's recap for anybody new here. So every day I'm up 45 minutes before the market open. I go through all the news outlets. I look for the news summary, what's happening in the market. I look for a wake up summary. This is what we call a wake up summary, where we look at geopolitical news, futures, trends, any huge market moving news, FOMC, macro news. You can see here the plan for the week. Then I go through any major news, news plays, we call it, that we can play today. So today the big news was the stocks being added to Nasdaq 100 and the stocks being removed to Nasdaq 100. Then I further look at more pre-market mover watch lists. You see here pre-market movers 1, pre-market movers 2. So then when I go through all these, then I make my list, my list of my watch list. I make it on live screen. I'm sharing my screen live with my community while I make my watch list. And this was my watch list for today, guys. The big winners today below here: day 2 setups, my repeatable setups that I teach again and again. I have taught those for years on Twitter. Now I also have dedicated webinars which show how to play these setups. What are these setups? But those who watch my YouTube videos should also know what are these setups. So anyways, there's LULU, AVGO, DOCU was our day 2 setups. Our news plays were Dash, Cigna, MDB, Snap, ZM, and few others. For me personally, it was a huge day on LULU, AVGO, DOCU, MDB. Dash was flat. Then we'll talk about how we longed AMD and how we avoided all the bearish moves this morning on the names like NVDA, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft. How all those were bearish, and how did we nail all these plays. So that was the plan, guys. There was a watch list, and there's my levels as always. Here are my levels, guys. So I make these levels for my community every morning. You can clearly see some pivot levels here, the pivot levels on AMD. When we come back to AMD, we'll look at those. NVIDIA pivot level broke down, and Netflix long idea, which I discussed today. So we'll talk about that one as well. You can take a screenshot of these levels that I share with community and how it helps everybody to train on their own, execute flawlessly. So those were the levels of the day, guys. And now let's look at so those were the levels of the day. And then of course in the pre-market I make plans. I make a pre-market bias and plan for all the news plays. So already all the market plays levels and plan I give separately, and then I talk about each of the news play. So CI was a plan, MDB was a plan, Snap, Zoom, JDL SID, and DOCU, AVGO, LULU setups. Intel was already, I shared this idea on Friday. It has been working today as well flawlessly. We will discuss that. All right, so that was the plan, and now let's go one by one and see how all our plays panned out. Let's start. So AVGO was our day 2 setup. AVGO had earnings yesterday, and we always watch the play for next day. We watch some repeatable setups on day 2 that trigger us a day 2 setup for us. So in this case, it was over the breakout. It was over the breakout level of yesterday highs, yesterday pre-market highs, and then it started to push right at open. And when I saw this, I was on the voice, and I was, so I mentioned to the community that we should long, and I also put it in, if you see 2 minutes out of the gate, I said long on the pullbacks because I don't want people to chase, but ideally you can long on a pullback, or you can add 1/3, 1/4 or you of your size or your options, whatever you want to add. So I wasn't long on that. As you see, I mentioned long this morning, AVGO with other names. And then it was all about scaling in. So I gave the target AVGO 1000, right? I already gave the target in first 10 minutes. I gave the target of 1000. So that means you could trade 1000 calls. And then AVGO pushed into 10 a.m. So you see the push into 10 a.m., pull back into 10 a.m. and flag at 10 a.m. and then flag breakout. So that means it's going further, and I did, and that was a 1000 breakout. Big setup. If you missed the setup here, then there was this 1000 psychological setup. Again and again I talk about these psych levels, right? So psych level setup, breakout, and here you could trade some more calls. And like I was in 1/10s, I was also in thousands. So I was trading there. So AVGO was going towards our target. If I show you the full, so let's see. So you can see the full guidance on AVGO. And I talked about my 1000 target, and we reached the 1000. I already showed you. Then the 1K calls were 300%. So you need to decide what you want to trade, right? You can call any option, I'm just showing you what I think the trade is, what I'm trading. But you can trade anything, options, shares, whatever works out for you. But anyways, and we already hit the 1000. You saw my opening idea, and then we already hit our 1000 target, and then it was flagging out of 1000. I said on voice we can really go 40 points, and we literally went 40 points, right? So and it was steady, right? So you see my all day guidance, it was still steady, and then we were taking some off at 1015. 1 or 10 calls were decent for that. Then my next target was 1020, and we hit the 1020. At that point, you just use your profit, buy the out of the money options. You get 1/20, you buy 130 options, 140 options. So just keep moving. For example, if I show you my 110 option that I bought for $16, it went to $34. So if I invested $1,600, it turned into $3,000. If I invested, $5,000, it turned into $10,000, right? So that was the trade. It's so easy. So that's how AVGO trade was, and nothing is too high. High can go higher. It never gave us a reason to cut. It was riding the 512 EMA Cloud all day. It was a ride up on 512 EMA Cloud. So there was no reason to take a profit fully or get out fully. So that's how you trade. We traded LULU on Friday, and today it was all about AVGO. Huge win. Some options went 400-500%, and even 1000%. If you were early, even 1000%. Some of the option autos went 1000% there. So another great, beautiful trade on AVGO. Love it. Repeatable setup. Once your setup is working, you let it run. If you just added AVGO open and cut here after 10 points, then you didn't do it right. That was not good. Of course, we take first profits into 10 a.m. That's our rules. But you always add in, you always scale in. You use profits to roll further if you're trading options, right? So those are the rules. So anyways, guys, this was AVGO. Huge win today. Everybody really did good on AVGO. Let's go to the next. So let's look at our next setup, guys. So next setup today was LULU. Again, LULU was our day 2 setup. Repeatable day 2 setup. Repeatable day 2 strategy. So again, what was LULU doing? If you again want to learn more about this, my videos are not helpful, you can join my webinars where I spend 2-3 hours explaining all this. But I have been teaching this setup for years. So most of you who are my old followers should know about it. But anyways, so LULU day 2, as you see, I said in the pre-market, it's a day 2 setup. And, I said it will push to 500 and more, so get a good entry. And so as I said, it did push to 500. So 500 target on LULU. came pretty quick. Look where LULU was yesterday. From where did we trade on Friday? And then it hit 500 target first. And then when I said if 500 holds, LULU can go much higher. And then from the 500 Psych breakout, LULU went to 505 and then pull back, held 505 and then pushed again. So LULU is like a 500 Psych level, and now it's also a swing versus that level. So you can see my guidance, next leg over 500 Psych, I took some seller off the top and then another bounce of 500. So it was pretty self-explanatory. Everybody was doing good on LULU. You know, everybody knows in the community about our day 2 setup, and as you see, we were long on LULU at the market open. And if you want to see, let's see. So I had all these price alerts that keep everybody informed about how the price action on LULU is. So that was LULU. So you can see here how we were trading, right? Some breakout setups on, we'll talk about that later. And because today the two concepts, psychological concepts and day 2 setups, just two concepts, repeatable concepts you needed to have a good profitable green day. You didn't need any magic indicator. You didn't need any guru to tell you the alerts, entry and exits. You just needed these two repeatable setups, which concepts which we repeat again and again and again and again. All right, let's now look at MDB. So MDB was our news play, or was one of our top watch list play. It was added to NASDAQ 100. And as I said, when you add NASDAQ 100, that's a really bullish news. And the risk on MDB initially was 384. So that was my bullish bias. But when I saw the strength on MDB out of the gate, it started to push over pre-market highs. And then I said you can start. You can do 1/3 position and then you can add into your winning position. That's what you can do. And then that's what happened. MDB started pushing. You add more, get average up and maybe move stops at 390. And from I can show you smaller time frame. So adding from the first 390 ads, it moved higher into 10 a.m. where we take our first profits. We hit our 400 psychological target, right? That's where I said 400 first target, log sum at 400 target, and if we push more on 400, then we trade more. So that was your first profit taking. Then you see the pullback, it held 512 EMA clouds. I said it's still holding 512 EMA clouds. And then the rest of the piece pushed to 404, and then you take more profit there, and then it finally breaks down this level, the 400, then you finally get out, because that's a psychological level that I wanted it to hold, which you will see a difference between these names and other names which held that level. But anyway, so MDB was a good trade right at open, news play into 10 a.m. and then 400 psychological pivot into 404. So good green trade here, MDB, repeatable setup. Let's go to the next one. So let's look at AMD now, guys. So AMD initially it was heavy, so I was not interested because initially it was dropping under the EMA clouds.
INAB.
That time I was not interested because it was heavy with NVDA. I said I'm not buying under the clouds. That's my rules. But as soon as it got back over the clouds, that was your time to get in. Your stops again will be under the clouds, or you can use a level from pre-market somewhere here. So it was back over the clouds, and then it was all about letting it work, right? So because it becomes bullish and it's over yesterday's highs, there's your two pivots. And if you want to see my pivots that I gave in the pre-market, my pivot was, so let's look here. So let's look at my pivot. So my pivot was 130.55, 131. So that's the pivot I gave everybody. As soon as it broke 131 breakout, it pushed to 133. 133 was another pivot that I gave on the target I gave, and then that was 133 breakout, and my targets were 134.47 and 134.35. and both my targets met. 1/3 market met, look more, and that's how we were. By the time our targets were met, we took the profits. So that was AMD, guys. It's something to learn that I was not trying to buy the dips. I don't trade that way because I want to see the confirmation, because then I know it's going up higher. Even if I missed this $1, $2, I don't care. I was able to get $3-4 on with more conviction, more repeatable setup than buying the dip here, right? And when this candle happened, it confirmed to me that this is going to push, and that's why I said long. Compare it with NVDA. I never said whole day that you should long NVDA, and I was always short biased on NVDA, which we can cover here, right? It's no big deal. I can cover it right here. If you see NVDA, heavy, and where were my levels? If you see my levels on NVDA, let's look at my level. My pivot level that I gave on NVDA was 474, 472, and when both of those broke, then it was just a short, just like my pre-market planning I give everyone. So that's the difference, guys, was AMD long and NVIDIA short. You clearly can see the differences. I was not long either of them at the open, but AMD showed us the bullish move and NVIDIA showed us the bearish move. So you short NVIDIA and you long AMD. Very simple. You have the levels, you have the trend, you just execute. So that was AMD and NVIDIA guidance, guys. Beautiful. Very, very proud of this one. Let's go to our next big winner of the day. So next one we're going to look at is DOCU, DOCU. So DOCU again was our day two setup, guys. If you see the other day we were short DOCU, and then DOCU turned bullish and we long DOCU, right? So today my eyes were on DOCU for 50 Psych. You can see this if you see here. Let me show you 1 second. So there was a price alert that came in right at open. So the price alert that came in right at open was, let's look at it. Let's go right here. DOCU crossing 49.95, Psych 50, trade idea. So that was our trade idea on DOCU. So that's your risk. You add wherever you add, 50 is your risk, or 49.50 EMA Clouds is your risk, and you add more over the yesterday's highs, and then you just ride the all day trend. So look at my comments here. So you already saw the price alert idea. Then so the eyes were on 50 Psych level, and we trade versus that, and our targets were 52 was my first target that I gave everybody on the voice, and at 10 a.m. told everybody to lock some. Then after the big move, I left 1/4 of my size in with 50 stops, and I told everybody 1 hour before market close that I'm still holding a last piece. And then I just liked it, I just held it all the way because I like it for for a swing. So I still have small position riding, but this was the most stress-free trade for us today on DOCU. There was defined trade. So you can see the 512 EMA Cloud trending, bullish trend all day. We know the trend, then it's all about the entry and managing the trade. Let's go to the next one. All right, guys, this one is a DoorDash. This one was only trade which kind of did not work. I mean, personally, it was not really a loser, but kind of a break-even scratch trade, depending upon where you entered. So the point today was it was all about this 100 level, 100 psychological level. Wherever you are adding, your risk initially is 100. If you are adding here, your risk is 100. But once it bounced from this EMA Cloud, remember the risk is two things are risk: EMA 3450 and then the level. So you can clearly see where it bounced for. So if you filled here, you had a good entry, then probably you had a good trade. For me personally, I was in 1 or 2 60s, and I added after the bounce. I was busy with other trades. for me, I was wanted to, and my target, you can see here, as I told everyone, is 104, because that's where I wanted to see. It tried to push, and it did not really give me 104 again. I mean, it was a really green trade for a bit. If you took off here, it was a green trade for you. But if you were like me, wanting a more trend trade, and you stopped out when 512 broke, then maybe you were break even or just made a little 40-50 cents, or maybe you made $1. So it depends on where your entry was. So that was the plan. So but you can see when I told everyone that 512 is breaking down, it can pull to 100, and look where I said that, 11:10, and then by end of the day it was back at 101. So you could see how the trend changes, how to time your exit and not get biased on a trade, right? So that was DoorDash 100 Psych idea, and we will keep on watching it for tomorrow as well. So let's look at ENPH idea. So ENPH idea, personal, I did not trade it, but it was, the watch was the same thing, under 100 short, over 100 long, and you can clearly see at the open it pushed right over 100, and I said it's a no short. It is a no, it's not a short. And if you traded a B minus long, then by end of the day you made $5 per share, right? So there was another easy trade, because you are just trying to define your risk. Every trade, once you are able to define your risk, you can take that trade, depending upon whatever level you have. So you can clearly see here ENPH, the plan was versus 100, and we were not shorting it blindly. So easy system and setup here. So let's look at CI. So the plan on CI, which had a bullish news with the dividends and some other news that it had today, the plan was simple. So the plan was that it's bullish versus the levels 288, 284 and 300. Now it pulled back, it held a level, right? You see it held a level here, and then you could trade it versus this low that it just created. My idea was to scalp the 300 that I told people that use the 292 as a risk. It can push to 300 and then scalp it over 300, right? So at let's see. So here, so you see the 300 push, and it pushed to 304, and again pull back to 300 psychological level, and then pushed again to 304, right? So the idea was there, maybe scalp versus the 292 level, or or trade scalp this 300. $3 are good enough to scalp. You see right here, the psychological 300 level never gave up.
CNTB.
So you see how this concept of psych levels work. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, Snap, there are so many plays today. I personally did not do much on Snap because I don't even like the small range on this one. But it's been doing good for for the swing setup. If you look at the swing chart, let's check it out. So Snap, I just want to focus on the on the swing idea. So there I gave, so you look at it. So this was the idea that I gave on November 30th, that the breakout over 14 and the pullback is 12. You can see here, right? And now you look what it does. It break out over 14, and today it touched as high as $16. So look at the swing trade as it turned bullish, right? And on the day trade side, 1550 was my level, and you can clearly see it dipped to the 1550 right here if you saw my guidance, and then it gave you 40 cents there, right? So as per the planning. So so let's go to the next one. All right, guys, let's talk about Intel. So as you guys know, even on Friday in the community and on the Twitter, I talked about the event that is on Thursday. Even in the morning, I posted about the Thursday event on Intel. You can see here So AI event, and I mentioned it all morning as well. Event on Thursday can run into it. 42 mentioned. Friday was your risk, and already at 45 from that idea, you know. So yeah, don't want to waste too much time. It's a catalyst trade. You have defined risk level from Friday. If you missed Friday, today you had a defined risk level under yesterday highs, or maybe some level here. So the options were huge on Intel. I mean, still strong. There's a breakout over 45. I think we still get a little bit more before Thursday. And of course, there can be sell the news into Thursday. But before that, we will take all our profit and we'll get out. Yeah, let's go to the next. So let's look at the coin. So for coin, Bitcoin finally had some kind of bearish news. It's just a pullback on daily chart. Nothing crazy on coin, but for even that pullback gave you a nice short trade. As I said, as long as under 142.50, it's heavy means it's a short, and you can clearly see it never crossed my 142.50 level. And I was proud of people in the community who were shorting on coin. They were short on coin, so so the coin was the short. So that's what I asked, and some people were short some other stocks in Bitcoin, but coin never reclaimed that level. It never went into the gap. So system was clearly short, and it faded from that 142.50, almost $6 from that point that I talked about. I'm going to quickly discuss these the faders for the day. Meta, I've been saying since morning that you do not long these names. They are under the pivots. All are the short scalps. They are no long. They're still heavy. C minus setup. I will avoid the long, right? So Meta was still heavy. So you can clearly see our system. So if I go to my levels, let's quickly show you my pivot levels, right? So you're going to see that. Let's look at it quickly. So if I see Meta, my pivot level was 330.75. Microsoft, my pivot level was 369.90. So if you go there and you see Meta from my pivot levels of 330.75, look at the big fade under the clouds, bearish, no reason to long. Microsoft from my bearish pivot 369.90, bearish, opening fade, no reason to long. Even again bounced and rejected from the resistance, no reason to long. And I think the other one which was a fade was Amazon. My level was 145.75. Right here was my level for my pivot, and that too was a good short in the morning from that pivot level to 143.59. And of course this, then we had these reversals, which I will show you. If I want to show you, I can show you. Even on the Meta, I had price alert set when it was time to long. Look at this price alert, 321.92, trying to push over the clouds. When Meta pushed over the clouds right here, that's when the price alerts gave in, and people got a nice trade. You can see here 20% nice trade, nice long. So everything you have to wait, right? So it was a short, and then it was a curl, and we are on top of everything, right? So yeah, so that was one example, and let's look at next one. So for Netflix, I'm only going to show you the pre-market plan. It's curling on 1 hour versus 450. What does curling means? Curling means it's turning from a bearish to a bullish move on 1 hour. This was the setup that I was talking about, and right at open, that curl I mentioned, it went over my pivots of 452. 455, 53, and then 460 for a big move into 470. You see there my pivots curling over 1 hour. Look at the trend, look at the trend, look at daily trend, look at 1 hour trend. Very nice reversal setup right here on 1 hour. This is what I like to see, and the clouds turn bullish. Easy peasy long setup at the open. Not my personal setup, but I'm very proud of the people who traded it in the community with my guidance, and that's what I love to see. Okay, before I wrap up, I quickly want to talk about SPY and QQQ, the guidance today. So, of course, we were in bullish market, right? So we were in the bullish market. Both were bullish all day. SPY, QQQ. That's once you know the trend, that's the half the battle is won there. So we knew that SPY, QQQ is bullish, right? Then they pull back here, and that's when I talk about this 460.80 level for next leg. 460.80 level for next leg. You can see the comments here, and that's when it pushes, and then it pushes all day, and you know, it was a night breakout from that level. That's where I traded my SPX calls, which went 100%. You know, if we have a dedicated SPY SPX room where we talk about all these trades, and you can see this in my trade went 100% on that SPY X that I'm 450 and finally bought for $9. So if you invested 2,000, you made 2,000. So that's how, you know, so that was the setup, and same was for QQQ, right? So half the battle is won when you're trading in the community, and when you have you know, traders helping each other, talking about all these setups, you know, then you just need to know and get a good entry and execute with practice, right? So yeah, so you can see all day trend, QQQ, all day trend SPY. All right, guys. So so that was it, guys. Beautiful day. Very excited for CPI and all that. Before I wrap up, Tesla was also a bearish today. There was no need to touch it. I told everyone no need to long Tesla, and you know, there was no reason to long it, right? So we did not focus. We stay with the tickers in the trend. If we lose money in a trending stock, that is fine, as long as we are on the right side. We know what the trend is, but we do not want to lose money when we are blindly on the other side of what the stock wants to do. All right, guys. So be that the lesson, guys. So today you learned about these psychological levels that we traded on. You know, we traded on AVGO, DODASH, MDB, LULU, the psychological level, and you learned about day 2 setups that I teach again and again. Today it was all about day 2 setups. So hopefully you learned something. If any questions, do let me know. Thank you. Take care. And information about the community is in the description and in the links. Take care. Bye.